Are you kidding me? Is this real? Oh my goodness.
Everyone feels the itch for a new bike, but do you really need one? After years of riding and upgrading, I've come to realize that what I already have typically is more than enough to handle some awesome riding. Modern bikes are so capable that chasing the latest frame or build, well, it won't necessarily transform your riding. And in this video, I want to share why I'm still riding my good old Trek Fuel EX Gen 6 here in 2025 and beyond, the upgrades that I do think matter, and why riding more is almost always better than buying more. Everywhere you look in mountain biking, there is pressure to get a new bike. The marketing machine never stops. Every year, it's a new frame, it's new geometry, it's a new suspension platform that supposedly is game-changing. And look, I get it. I'm there. I'm always browsing. This time of the year, the new frames come out, the new color waves, and I am just craving something new. And a new bike day is so special. If you ride, you know there is nothing quite like that joy of a fresh bike. It's quiet. It's so sick. But after years of riding and racing and just enjoying this hobby, I've realized something. You probably don't need a new bike. Definitely not as much as you think you do. And by the way, this is Dragoon from the future editing this video. I have to pause for a second. This is one of the sickest sections of trail I've ever seen, so just check this out. We'll get back to the commentary in a second.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? Is this real? Oh my goodness. There's no way this is real. Look at this stretch of trail. Oh my gosh.
I'm still riding this Trek Fuel EX, the Gen 6. I got it in 2023. I absolutely love this bike. I've put a ton of time into it. It's its third season. It's got a great set of kinematics. The frame design is lovely, and it reminded me exactly why I don't feel that urge to upgrade every season. Well, I have the desire, but I also reminding myself, hey, this thing is more than capable right now. The truth is the bike you already have is probably more capable than you think, and most of the time, well, the rider is the one holding it back and not the frame. I say that not knowing exactly who's watching. You could be the sickest ripper of all time, and if that's the case, I take that back. But when I was growing up racing, there was a pro DH guy from Scotland called Ben Reed, and he was riding on an old giant Glory for years on the World Cup scene, and that dude could shred like nobody's business. It was outdated even back then, and yet he shredded harder on that old setup than most riders could dream of. And it's not just him. I've ridden with plenty of people over the years. You probably can think about this kind of rider in your local scene or friend group who destroy on whatever bike they are on, no matter how nice or not so nice the build is. And that's because, in my opinion, what matters the most, that frame design. If it is a solid frame design, it's got good kinematics, that is what will take you far. A good platform with good geometry, that's what defines how the bike rides. Components, well, they've got a huge variance in the expense, but it doesn't always translate into the quality, or at least the perceived quality. Sometimes it does, but beyond a certain point, the returns get pretty small, and the ride feel really comes from that frame. I used to race cross country and Super D, and don't get me wrong, back in the day, it was so fun getting to ride on some of these higher end component sets and getting to race on it. It was a treat. But if I'm being honest, the difference was way smaller than you would think, and never was worth the huge jump in cost for those diminishing returns. As long as you've got a good platform under you, the rest are small details for the most part. So the Trek Fuel EX Gen 6, I talk about it a bunch here on the channel. The bike came out with modern geometry, pretty balanced kinematics, and a really solid all-around design. And here in 2025, Trek just launched the Gen 7 model, and it does look cool. I've done a little bit of research. The Fuel LX and the MX models, it looks like the idea is with one platform, you can have an enduro shredder or a trail bike beast. And I like that. It's super cool to see that they're experimenting and kind of leaning into that idea of just having one bike in the garage that you can push in whatever direction you want, more enduro or more trail. So there's the desire. I wonder what it rides like. But then I think back, okay, hey, this Fuel EX is amazing. And there's not necessarily a reason to upgrade right now. Definitely not at that cost, because I don't know. For me, I'm the type of rider who gets a new bike every 4 or 5 years, sometimes longer if I can push it. It's not something that I get every year. Man, bikes are so expensive. Here's the thing. Since about 2019, I feel like modern mountain bikes have gotten really good. The shift to this modern geometry platform that pretty much everybody is using, the longer reach, the slacker head angles, the steeper seat tubes, all of this builds a proper 2.9er platform. And that in and of itself was a huge revolution. I was racing in the 26-inch days and then went through 27.5 and then the early days of 2.9. And seeing the shift between 2025 and 2015, it was massive. But honestly, since about like 2020, 2019, it hasn't been that massive. I feel like we have found a point where geometry is just pretty good. It's hard to find a genuinely bad bike these days. So if you already have something that you picked up in the last 5, maybe 6 years, chances are your bike is still incredibly capable today. However, an industry in any hobby cannot exist, right? With you thinking that the sport is expensive and there is always FOMO around gear. Online like sites, magazines kind of exist, not to the degree that they used to. YouTube channels, review sites, they love testing and reviewing the shiny stuff. It drives clicks, it drives the affiliate sales. That's important. I want bike companies to survive and thrive, of course. That's how hobbies work. But I do think more riders are waking up to the fact that you can have an insane amount of fun just riding what you already own. Case in point, I sold my old 2016 stump jumper to a friend a while back, and every so often, if my Fuel EX is in the shop or whatever, he does let me borrow it to ride it here and there. So that's a 27.5 Stumpy with older geometry, crazy slack seat tube angle. It has total mid-range components. It's an aluminum frame, the Dior drivetrain, the entry-level brakes, aluminum wheels. And you know what? That bike still rips. In fact, sometimes it's more fun than the 2.9er Fuel EX. This thing is poppy, it's playful, it's a little less glued to the ground. So no, I'm not gonna be winning races on it. It is like not as capable or as safe feeling, but it's still incredibly fun. The difference between that and a modern setup, beyond the geometry, it's not crazy. I guess the point is, go have fun on your bike, just go ride. That is where the joy is. If you can put the FOMO aside for a second, you can really, I think about it this way. Would you rather get a new bike or go on a couple of bike trips this next year? Right? Bikes are what, 4, 5, 6 grand? They can go up to 10 and all sorts of crazy builds. But in my opinion, that like 4 grand mark, 3, 4 grand mark is kind of perfect these days. Think about how many trips you could go on to like a dream bike park thing or on just a trail adventure or whatever with even part of that budget. Now, there are absolutely some component upgrades that super matter that are worth investing in. Tires are key, and this is going to change the ride feel of the bike more than anything. Investing in a good set of tires that fits your riding style and the bike will be huge. Wheels do matter, but wheels are crazy expensive if you're trying to buy like a really nice set. It's a pretty big investment. The cockpit is an easy one. Grips, bars, stem. Make sure you get a setup that is comfortable. Thankfully, it's not that expensive to experiment in this spot. And then finally, a good setup for your suspension. You don't need the ultra super duper high tier of suspension. Those just give you a couple extra settings. You get the high speed and the low speed compression tuning, and they are nice if you know what you're doing. But I'm telling you, a good tune, like if you have a good setup on a mid-range suspension platform, it's going to feel way better than like the ultra high end if that's not set up correctly. And I have a video, like if you look at the previous Trek video, I'll leave it linked down below. I talk about everything I did with this bike and the parts that I've changed the last few years if you want to know what tires I'm running in the cockpit setup that I've got right now. The big message here, modern bikes are insanely capable. Chasing the next shiny release will not, most likely, transform your riding. The stuff that will, technique and fitness and time on the trail. Back when I was racing back in the 26-inch era, the bikes were trash compared to what we have today. The geometry was all over the place. The frames were flexy. The wheels were crazy underbuilt. Tubeless was just like starting to be a thing. But even then, There were riders who shredded beyond belief because they trained, they rode hard, and they didn't let the bike dictate their potential. The last thing I want to mention, there is a joy in familiarity. When you've been on a frame for years, when you know it inside and out, you know how it's gonna respond. You know the limits, and that comfort lets you push that bike further. Switching frames is super fun, and some people are very adaptable like quickly, but it always takes me about a whole season before I feel dialed on a new bike. And sometimes I never get there. I raced one season doing Super T stuff on a Yeti ASR. It was a great bike, but the geometry just never clicked with me. I felt like I sat inside of that frame. The next year, I built out a specialized Enduro for Super T, and that is one of my favorite bikes I have ever had. It felt like a glove. Selling that bike hurt because it was just so rare to feel that comfortable, and I just got used to it. So, new gear can be worth it, especially if you've got the means or if you want to treat yourself. That is all good. I'm not anti-upgrade whatsoever. But if you're feeling that itch, one of the best ways to deal with some of that FOMO is just go ride what you already have. 9 times out of 10, I bet it will remind you your bike is still awesome. And that is just my opinion. I could be completely wrong on all of this. So let me know what you think down below. How often do you get a new bike, by the way, like a new mountain bike? What's that cadence kind of look like for you? Not to take anything away. There is a total huge joy in that. But there's something to be said about putting a little extra maintenance and care into what you already have. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you again very soon. Also, thanks. Huge break since the last video. I should have things more consistently going forward. Have a good day.